an advantage in the air. Our partners can support us from the standpoint of supporting and supplying of those aircrafts.
President Biden has been very clear he's worried about provocations that could trigger World War III. Do you understand his concern there, and do you agree that it wouldn't take much to end up in World War III?
Well, nobody knows whether it may have already started, and what is the possibility of this war if Ukraine, 80 years ago, when the Second World War has started, and there were similar tragedies in the history, nobody would be able to predict when the full-scale war would start and how it will end, who will put an end to that. In any case, the wars tend to end up in millions of people lost, people die, and millions of buildings destroyed. Now we have different technologies, nuclear weapons. In this case, we have the whole civilization at stake.
The U.S. administration has raised concerns that Russia might launch a chemical attack. Do you think there is a red line, and whether that would be a red line that the U.S. would move forward and become more actively involved in combat?
I believe that Russians have already crossed all the red lines when they started shelling civilians. They've killed over 100 of children, and I don't understand the meaning of red lines. What else should we wait for? For letting Russians kill 200, 300,
как бы подмена вопроса такая. Гитлер хотел захватить весь мир. У него вот конкретный был план, ну то есть Вторую мировую войну, но это было давно, правильно, да? Но все равно, тем не менее... никто не знал, что ли, про это, наоборот? Он спокойно шагал себе по Европе. Зачем они сравнивать вот это вот сейчас со Второй мировой, когда как бы все у них все перевернули, ну как бы... Ну да, хорошо, не перевернули, да? То есть... Я не понимаю просто смысла, зачем так говорить, это как бы провокационно, с целью разжечь, да, с целью людей, ну да, как бы, ничего, ну поймешь, да. Ну, наоборот, да нет, за свой сад отвечать надо, что и да. От зачистки политической верхушки, ну, наверное, да, он понял.
He's also the former ambassador to Ukraine, a friend of the show. Ambassador Taylor, thanks for being here. President Zelensky, once again, with an emotional, no-holds-barred speech today in front of Congress. What's your reaction to what he said, and also to President Biden's response?
Vicky, this was President Zelensky at his best. He's just a great speaker. He's a great leader. He showed us, and it was great that all Americans could watch and see and appreciate the strength and the courage of this man. As you've pointed out, as Lester pointed out, he's in Kyiv. He's not quite surrounded, but nearly surrounded by Russian forces trying to get him. They're after him. He's there. He's not leaving. And when he addressed the Congress, and he brought the whole Congress together. He brought left and right, Republicans and Democrats. He brought the whole nation together in support of him. He's pulled his own nation together. I was in his office, Vicky, about a month ago.
Вот я бы тоже так думал, понимаешь, если бы... Ну, нам легко сказать с другой стороны. Смотри, если Зеленский сейчас взялся, то неизвестно, да. Ну, вообще, да. Ну, как бы, если так вот, ну, ты же политик, ты должен жертвовать собой, значит, для народа своего, для людей вообще, да. Так получается.
Ukrainians are fighting the Russians on our behalf. It's on our behalf. So I was very impressed. You asked about President Biden's response. President Zelensky asked for more weapons, and President Biden came forward with another 800 million. So bring up, so what, we're now at $1 billion this week. $1 billion this week with the kinds of weapons that President Zelensky was asking for. We talked about the fighter jets, which he didn't respond to, or the no-fly zone, which he did not respond to. But he did. President Zelensky did say, if you can't do the no-fly zone, then give us the surface-to-air missiles. And it sounds like what President Biden said is he's trying to get those surface-to-air missiles for President Zelensky.
And on that front, Ambassador, you know, from an operational perspective, how will the weapons provided by the U.S. make a difference in defending Ukraine? And logistically, how quickly can they...
That expands the hose. That's a lot of water coming through this hose. And that needs to continue. And so it is coming through. They're finding ways to get it to the military. Ukrainian military is fighting very hard. There are reports today that the Ukrainian military is counterattacking against the Russians. The Russians are way outnumbering the Ukrainians, and everybody thought that they would be able to go to Kyiv in 2 days. Well, Vicky, it's been 3 weeks, it's been 21 days, and the Ukrainians are holding them off. So those weapons that we've been providing through that stream of weapons coming in over the last 8 years, but really accelerating over the past month or two and accelerating this week, they're coming through and they're having an effect, and the Ukrainians are using them to great effect.
Ambassador Taylor, as always, thank you for your perspective. We appreciate it. Now, as Russia's attacks intensify, more than 3 million refugees have fled Ukraine, fighting their own personal battles as they look for safety. Tonight, they are calling on the international community to do a lot more. Gabe Gutierrez now with their emotional stories.
Tonight, the weight of the war is etched in these faces. Gubaev escaped with her grandchildren from eastern Ukraine. It's very difficult. Please help us, she begs. This is a makeshift shelter above the Lviv train station where medical
Подумай, вот что бы ты сделал на месте вот президента, который, ну, он про себя так думает. Не, ну, ты хочешь сказать, Зеленский силен, что ли? А, то есть как бы, да, он понял, ну, это любого вообще, это не важно. Ну, ладно. Ну, вот это вот меня уйдут. Ладно, поднимите руки за то, чтобы Байден сейчас ввязался за Украину. Начиная с воздуха, а потом чуть-чуть по земле, ну, или просто...
Sometimes the physical scars are not what hurts most. It's hard to see her suffer, Lara's grandmother says. Like so many here, they're asking the world to do more. Weeks into the war, the struggle to board trains like this with the Poland repeats itself night after night. As Russia intensifies its air attacks, more refugees are making the heart-wrenching decision to leave the world they knew behind. Vicky.
Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. We turn now to the economy. As expected, the Federal Reserve today announced it is raising interest rates for the first time since 2018. The 1/4 point increase is expected to help tame runaway inflation. NBC's Tom Costello has been watching the markets all day. He joins us now. Hey, Tom, this move is expected to be just the first in a series of rate hikes. Unpack the timeline for us, and what is this expected to do in terms of slowing inflation?
Yeah, well, you're right. So it was a 1/4 point rate hike today, but the Fed chairman says there could be 6 more rate hikes this year as the Fed works to bring down 40-year high inflation, with Americans paying for more for everything, from food to clothing to cars to gasoline. This is a tightrope they're walking, Vicky. They hope that the higher rates will cool consumer demand, bring inflation under control, while also maintaining the country's very strong labor market. You know, unemployment under 4%. But higher rates mean consumers will pay more for credit cards, adjustable rate loans, and new mortgages as well. And they're concerned that if they tap the brakes on too hard, they could put the economy into a recession. So, experts right now advise pay off credit cards right now, lock in new mortgage rates right now if you can, and also if you have an adjustable rate loan, could be a student loan, could be some other kind of a loan you have, a home equity line, you might now want to try to convert that into a fixed rate loan so that your rates won't keep going up. But the goal here, Vicky, is to bring inflation down. It's now at 8%. They want to bring it down to 2% within 2 years or so. that will be tough. Most people think we'll go to double-digit inflation before rates start coming back down again.
All great advice for what consumers can do and take action with now. Tom, while I have you, let me ask you about this. Help us understand. Oil prices are coming down, but the war in Ukraine obviously continues to rage on. Russian oil now virtually off the market here in America. So are we going to see any changes in gas prices, and what's causing oil prices to go down?
Well, so the answer to why is oil going down, and this is kind of strange. China, as you may have seen, is locking down cities because they've got an explosion of COVID there. Part of the reason they've got COVID exploding is because they use their own vaccine. They did not use the vaccines approved in the West. Apparently not very effective. They've got COVID exploding, so they've locked down cities again. If you lock down cities, your demand for oil and gas drops. And of course, as you know, oil is a global market. So that's why oil is dropping worldwide. Now, when will it translate into lower prices at your local gas station? That should happen in the next weeks or so, but as you know, gas stations sometimes don't always pass along the savings as quickly as we would like.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you. Well, sky-high gas prices Tom was talking about, they're not the only problem at the gas station. Thieves stealing thousands of dollars in fuel from pumps across the country. How you can protect yourself when you go to fill up. Zincle Esimwa has more.
Tonight, gas thieves striking U.S. stations and drivers from Texas, California to Pennsylvania. In Long Beach, police say there's been a string of heists as the price of fuel continues to rise, leaving area stores on high alert. One gas station cashier shared video with NBC of white trucks he says were outfitted to steal gasoline. The trucks seemingly just topping up, but now accused by station staff of guzzling up thousands of dollars worth of fuel. On Thursday, the cashier says accused drivers seen here quickly scattered once police arrived. Police say they arrested one suspect at the scene, but other stations haven't been so lucky. In Spring, Texas, one Chevron station says they lost $10,000 worth of fuel and only noticed when balancing their books.
It's not gonna come through the computer until unless we take the reading from inside, and nobody knows.
Cameras captured as many as 8 trucks alleged by the store owner to have stolen gasoline. The local police captain responding.
Especially given the cost of fuel and oil right now throughout the country, this is especially an egregious crime with individuals taking advantage of businesses like this.
Experts say inflation and Russia's invasion of Ukraine has caused gasoline prices to soar, up nearly 80 cents from a month ago. But it's not just stations. Individuals have been targeted too. One Pennsylvania woman who did not want her name or face shown for privacy found a hole drilled into her gas tank. Home video showing a person circling her vehicle.
My husband, when he came home, he looked at the camera and he's like, the guy had the drill in his hand. So yeah, and when he looked at the hole, it's a drill.
Gas theft is not only illegal, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it can be very dangerous for the people that are doing it, especially if it is a metal gas tank. When you get any sparks flying or anything like that around gas, yeah, you're going to have a fire.
But there are preventative steps one can take.
Obviously, ciphering gas is something that has been done for a long time. But the one way to prevent that is they do have, for more traditional gas caps, they make ones that you can put on their aftermarket that have a key and lock in it.
Temporary solutions to what experts hope will be a temporary problem.
Wow, locking the gas cap. Zincle, this is wild. Zincle's here now with us from 30 Rock here in New York. A couple questions for you. One, what more do we know about that suspect who was arrested after the heist in California? And also, you mentioned a couple tips, but what else can we do to avoid falling victim to this?
Yeah, Vicky, it is nuts what's going on. So in regard to the suspect, he was identified by police as a 27-year-old resident of Las Vegas, Nevada, and booked for one count of attempted grand theft property, conspiracy to commit a crime, and possession of burglary tools. I spoke to police today, and they say there are at least 2 other suspects, and it is an active investigation. That said, if you are not a station owner, if you're, like many Americans, just a driver, mechanics and law enforcement say keep your gas caps locked or buy a locking cap, and if possible, leave your car locked indoors, for example, in a garage, and avoid keeping it in public spaces for too long, because that might entice thieves. Vicky?
Great advice. Zincle Esimwa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we turn to a tragic story out of Texas, a head-on collision involving a passenger van carrying members of a college golf team. 9 people killed, 7 from the team's van, 2 in a pickup truck. The cause of that crash still under investigation. Officials from the university calling it devastating. Here's Morgan Chesky with more.
Tonight, it's the mangled wreckage breaking hearts from a collision killing 9, including 7 members of a college golf team.
It's a very tragic scene. It's very, very tragic.
The accident happened around 8 p.m. Tuesday. Authorities say a team van for the University of the Southwest was headed home from a Texas tournament when a pickup truck veered into their lane, seconds before impact.
I've got wrecked vehicles on both sides of the highway, fully involved vehicles. I'm still trying to get up on scene and see what we have.
Authorities say that head-on collision grew worse when flames engulfed both vehicles. Burn scars now line the side of the road where bystanders tried desperately to save those trapped inside.
Crews airlifted 2 students more than 100 miles to hospitals in Lubbock, where they remain in critical condition. But for 6 student athletes, their coach, and 2 others inside the truck, the impact proved fatal. Among those lost, Lacey Stone, whose high school coach called her a hardworking student and golfer with a constant smile.
She joked and she sang and she just lived life to the fullest. It's going to be really hard to not have her around anymore.
The university president confirming the team coach, Tyler James, was also among those killed.
Morgan Chesky joins us now from Hobbs, New Mexico. Morgan, this is an incredibly heartbreaking story. This crash happened just last night. Are you learning anything more about the condition of those 2 students who survived?
Yeah, Vicki, we are. We were told that they were airlifted more than 100 miles north to hospitals in Lubbock, Texas, and at last check, they remain in critical condition. In the meantime, federal investigators said today that they have dispatched a team of 11 to 12 NTSC investigators that will scour the scene where this accident took place in hopes of learning more about its potential cause, but they say right now it is too early to tell. Vicki?
Morgan, thank you so much. Just in tonight, Jussie Smollett will be released from jail pending an appeal. A judge ordering his release on bond after Smollett's lawyers argued he would have finished his sentence by the time the appeal process was complete. Last week, the disgraced actor was sentenced to 150 days in jail for staging a racist and homophobic attack against himself and lying to police. Still ahead tonight, deadly DUI arrest. Body camera footage showing the man saying he can't breathe multiple times. A lawsuit just filed by his family. Plus, the massive fire ripping through a Walmart distribution center in Indiana. The concern tonight for residents in that area. And kilos of cocaine found hidden on passenger planes leaving for New York. Where they were stashed and could they pose a risk to those on board? Stay with us.
Top Story with Tom Llamas is your news playlist on NBC News Now. And now, you can listen to it as a podcast. Available anytime and anywhere.
News is happening. Now, look at what's making headlines around the world.
We're coming up with breaking news.
This is a significant moment.
Whenever it happens, wherever you are, NBC News, streaming free now.
There were residents who hung on for dear life. I've heard people say the town is gone. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely not. We've lost houses, but our community is still here.
Students from Southlake caught on camera using racial slurs.
It's been covered up for a very long time.
We are strongly against critical race theory.
Racism in reverse is racism. Shame!
This is Southlake. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
NBC News, streaming free now.
What happened here is a story of loss and salvation. There were residents who hung on for dear life. This is where you took shelter in this car.
Oh, shelter right in this car, right here.
Rioters banged down one of the doors.
I think you found a way to reconcile it a year later.
It really hurt to see this place that I love so much treated with such disrespect.
Was it an act of cleaning or an act of healing?
Here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world. Because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
What are you doing for teachers who feel that they're being stretched too thin? Did you understand how prevalent hunger was in your own community?